your thoughts on the business of law? Is that an area that interests you, or, just your thoughts on a high level about the business of mass torts?
It's a fascinating business because it is a business. Yeah. When I started practicing law, law was considered a profession, but there was an underbelly business side to it. Now it seems that the profession is not so much a profession. Now, in some regards, it is more of a business. And the business model has been interesting to watch it transform. So if you go back in the mass tort landscape, back in the pre-Vioxx days, so before, say, 2005 or something like that, I think we tried the first Vioxx case in 2005. So go back before that. There were two basic kinds of lawyers in the mass tort arena, what I called chicken catchers and what I called chicken pluckers.
Right.
And there were some people who were really good at catching chickens, but they didn't really know what to do with them after that.
Right.
And some were really good at plucking chickens, but they couldn't get the cases in. They weren't very good at bringing them in. And so you had this nice little division, and the chicken catchers would catch a bunch of cases and send them to the pluckers for a referral fee.
Yeah.
Well, along comes Vioxx, and Judge Fallon does an incredible job at orchestrating a settlement that goes across the entire nation. And all of a sudden, the chicken catchers realized, gee, why did I send this case to a plucker? This is all getting a big settlement anyway. I could have kept the case myself, processed the settlement, and I wouldn't have to be in for a referral fee. I'd actually be in for the whole fee, minus whatever common benefit there may be assessed. And so you had a big sea change. And now all of a sudden you've got a bunch of lawyers who are going to get the cases and hold them until there's going to be a big national settlement, and then take advantage of the settlement. Now, those lawyers aren't going to really know how to develop the case. They're not really going to know how to try the cases, but they're just going to hold on to them and let the steering committee take care of figuring out how to get a big global resolution. And then they make a bunch of money. Now, this frees them up, and then venture capital comes into the equation. And now all of a sudden they've got money that can be loaned to them at an interest rate that can help them get even more cases. So it takes the pie and makes the pie even larger. So that's the situation. Now, the defendants, of course, are not blind to this, and they realize what's going on. So then they start changing their settlement posture. And instead of doing big national global settlements, they start settling inventories. And so you've got companies saying, well, we'll pay Mark Lanier a premium because we know he can beat us at trial. But this person over here who's just running ads on TV, we're going to give them 15 cents on a dollar compared to what we're paying Lanier because they can't do anything with the cases. And all of a sudden, you've got people who are settling dockets at a much reduced price because they haven't referred them out to lawyers who really know what to do with them. So you've got this different structure. And it's been interesting because I've been on the inside of some of these, and I've heard these lawyers who are case gatherers or accumulators, the chicken catchers, I've heard them bewailing the fact, well, how come Lanier gets $150,000 per case and you're offering us $15,000? That's not right. And the answer was, well, you're not going to try the case and we don't think you're going to beat us. It's that simple. And so they call me up. Well, can you get us your $150,000? I say, well, what would you give me in return? Well, we shouldn't have to give you anything. That's the. I said, hey, buddy, you want to keep cases to me? I'll take care of your cases and I'll give you a good referral fee. If you want to sit on those cases yourself, God bless you. Do the best you can. But that's that's where you sit. And so these are all business dynamics that have been radically changing the scene. And now you can take it the next step further because the same venture capital that's helping some of these people get these cases are also buying stock in the companies that are being sued. So they've got money being made both ways. If it turns out to be a good lawsuit, they're going to get money off their venture capital. If it turns out to be a bad lawsuit, it increases the value of the company stock, perhaps, that they own. Lots of ethical overlays in the business now as well.
Mm-hmm. It's quite fascinating. I'm in the business of dealing with law firms, as you know, on the capital side, and I see a lot of business models. I also see a lot of people, and I see intentions, and I see where people's minds and hearts are. And so, capital is also getting smart, and they certainly don't want to invest in passive firms who are, the chicken catchers. They understand the value of positioning themselves with trial lawyers, a lawyer that can work up the case, can answer the phones, has the ability to sustain, good infrastructure over 2, 3, 4, 5 years as the case matures, and then take it to trial if needed. And so I think there were a lot of those examples that you just described, but I think those were the trial and errors of the early stages of people not knowing who is who and who does what. But their criteria keep getting more and more limiting in some ways. And so it's definitely morphing, and it's got good and bad in it. So it's, for me, coming from the business side of things, I would love to be able to see that people in mass torts are represented with care, that these are not just chickens, right? They're not chickens, they're people.
Right. They're people.
They're people. And so how do we do justice to those people who are never going to go to court and have their case tried?
Well, Morena, I think you've put your finger on a very good insight. And that is, there is a maturing process. Thank goodness we don't look and act like we did when we started becoming teenagers. Isn't it great that we grow past that stage?
Yeah.
And I was laughing about this because I told someone the other day, I said, mass torts have been going through their teenage years, their awkward teenage stage, but we're growing out of it with insight. So to further your point and give an example, there is a mass tort that's out there where 70 to 80% of the cases have settled. Mm-hmm. But now there are a boatload of cases that were held out under the premise that they were going to be really well paid. And yet this is not a lawyer who's a trial lawyer. And so the company's just like, I'm not going to pay you. I'll pay you 20 cents on the dollar of what I've paid Lanier, but that's it.